Inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
Pat, you've got an incredible success story. Can you tell us how you got started buying rentals?
Yeah, so I started back in 2000. As soon as I graduated from college, I flipped about 4 or 5 homes, got my cash right. And then I started doing buy and holds, where I was buying the properties, just a regular BRRRR, what we now today call BRRRR. Back in the day, there was no name for it, but it's basically buying, rehabbing, renting, refinance, and repeat. I just was doing that model.
Pat's very first deal was a 4-plex that he house hacked right out of college. And today he's built a rental portfolio of 200 single-family homes that generate over $1 million a year in cash flow. And on this episode, we're going to figure out how he did it. Joining us on the show today is Pat Grace from Kansas City. We'll take a quick break to thank our sponsors. We'll come right back and we'll talk to Pat. It's a lot of work to find a really good rental property. And when you actually find that property, you want to make sure you're working with a lender that can get that loan closed. The lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender, and her specialty is helping investors finance rental properties. She has a ton of loan programs, and she can find something customized to you for your situation. If you want to find out more or you're ready to get started today, just go to ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056. Investing in rental properties can be complicated, but it doesn't have to be. My friends at MidSouth HomeBuyers sell completely rehab turnkey properties in both Memphis and Little Rock, and they've been doing it for 23 years. All their properties come totally rehab. They put on a new roof, new kitchen, new bath, new plumbing, new electric. Everything is brand new. They also have a tenant that's moved in before you close, so you get cash flow on day one. MidSouth HomeBuyers also continues to manage the property for you after closing. It couldn't be easier. Everything is 100% done for you. All their properties also come with a couple of guarantees. They have a 1-year total maintenance warranty and a lifetime occupancy guarantee. Personally, I just closed on my 5th property with MidSouth HomeBuyers, and I couldn't be happier. If you want to talk to a happy customer, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions, or you can check them out at midsouthhomebuyers.com. Real estate, it's been a cornerstone of wealth building for generations, but it's also often a major headache for investors. 3 a.m. maintenance calls, tenant disputes, property taxes. Enter the Fundrise Flagship Real Estate Fund, a $1.1 billion real estate portfolio built for you. We're talking more than 4,000 single-family homes in thriving Sunbelt communities, 3.3 million square feet of in-demand industrial facilities, all professionally managed by an experienced team. With the Flagship Fund, you're tapping into real estate's most attractive qualities: long-term appreciation potential, a hedge against inflation, diversification beyond the stock market, check, check, check. All without complex paperwork, massive down payments, or soul-sucking landlord duties. Visit fundrise.com/RIP to explore their portfolio, check out historical returns, and see just how easy it can be to add real estate to your investing strategy. Carefully consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Fundrise Flagship Fund before investing. This and other information can be found in the fund's perspective at fundrise.com/flagship. This is a paid advertisement. The great thing with a house hack is that you're really able to reduce your living expenses so you have more money to put towards investing. With your first property, were you able to live for free?
Yeah. So not only did I live for free, I was cash flowing like $800-900 a month.
Wow.
I bought the 4-plex for $80,000 in Independence, and my payment on that with taxes and insurance was like $700-800. I was renting each unit for $700-800.
Incredible.
So I, pretty much 2 units was covering everything. I was living in one, and the third and the fourth unit was just all cash flow.
Seeing that, is that kind of what gave you the idea that, hey, maybe I can take this bigger and buy a lot of properties?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so, seeing the cash flow and seeing what I could do here, and the fact that I could refinance these I was taking out 75% rehab loans, and the rehab loan was covering my purchase price and all my rehab, and then I could refinance at 80%. And so I was no money out of pocket. I was doing all this stuff with, no, and I was even making cash, because sometimes, most time, almost all the time, the rehab wasn't taking me 75%. So on $100,000 house, I was getting 75 from the bank. I was paying 15 for the purchase, and I was paying 35, 40 for the rehab, and I was keeping the spread. And I was just putting all that money into savings and to buy more properties and reinvest and reinvest and reinvest. And mind you, this whole time, I was still working at Olive Garden as a waiter. My wife was a nurse. She was still working at Olive Garden as a host, and um, all we spent was our Olive Garden money. Everything we made at Olive Garden is what we would spend. Everything we made in my real estate and Marta's nursing job, we put into a different account where we would reinvest that money. And the rule for that account was, if it didn't make money, we couldn't use that money.
Would you say that you built your whole portfolio kind of following that same model?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I built my entire portfolio based off of, just really getting diligent the first, I'd say 5 to 7 years, where we were hyper focused. We wasn't going on vacation, and we were building a family. I mean, also in that 5-6 year period, we had 3 kids. We were busy. It was crazy. Yeah. And so, I started to get this good energy and this good flow, and properties became easier. My lenders knew I could pay them off, and knew they knew I knew what I was doing. I started developing multiple crews, and really good crews, so I could do 8 to 10 at a time. And we just started growing, this business, and then we started, the companies around this real estate business. So the first thing I did was become a real estate agent and cut the agent out of the deal. So now I had access to the market. I had access to comps. I had access to writing my own contracts, getting my offers in quick. And I did that real estate. Me and my wife were agents for Century 21 for 2 years. And then my wife went and got her broker's license, and we started Grace Real Estate Company.
Yeah. And that's great, because you're also getting commission then when you buy a property.
Oh, yeah. I don't understand why wholesaler. I always hear this, if you're wholesaling property, or if you're doing all this, you shouldn't be an agent. I mean, I think that's the dumbest thing ever. I wholesale a lot of properties. I hotel a lot of property. When I buy a property for $150,000 now, and I want to sell it for $175,000, I put it out to the Facebook, I put it out to all the off-market channels, and I put it on MLS. You just got more exits, right. I think, and I don't understand why people, and then you got wholesalers calling you for comps, they can't even, they got to wait for their agent to put in their offers. It just doesn't make sense. You have no access.
Right.
And for me, speed was, and having access, was key. I didn't want to wait for comps. I didn't want to wait to put in offers. The good deals go fast. And so, that was the first kind of company that we started around real estate investing. And then as, my portfolio grew from 5 homes to 10 homes to 20 homes to 30 homes to 50 homes, in 5 years, we built this thing up to about 100 houses. And then, I started making noise, and people want to know what you're doing. You move at 25, you're living on a private golf course on the 9th hole. You're driving, Escalades with spinners. And so, I mean, you've got Hummers and Escalades and, all these fancy cars. And so people are like, hey, what is this guy doing? I want to do that too.
Yeah.
So we quickly figured out, oh man, we've got a great business here. Not only can we do this and create a portfolio for ourselves, we can create a business around this and service other people. Everybody
Right.
wants into the game of real
Yeah.
estate.
So
They just don't know who, what, when, where, why, or how. And if you can answer those questions for them, and you have history, and you have knowledge, and you have systems and processes and companies, people will follow, and you'll be able to service them.
right.
And so that's kind of what we had this whole investing business, this buy and hold business. And then we had this whole service side of the business as well, where we were servicing other people and creating portfolios and managing portfolios for them. And we still do that to this day. I mean, I've been doing that for 25 years.
And so it's not just about the cash flow for the rentals. It's that because of the rentals, you're in this whole different world, and now you're able to make money in different ways.
Right. And so what makes, the flips are good for the fast cash, the quick cash, but where the real money's at and where the real comfortability lays is the buy and hold. And so it's a slow process. It's like a
Yeah.
whole life insurance policy. It's going to take 5 years,
Right.
6 years, and it's going to take multiple properties. You can't just do one property a year and want to be a real estate investor, buy and hold. I mean, you can, but it's going to be tough. I mean, you got evictions and vacancy, and so the more property you have, the easier it is. But the buy and hold is where we started making waves, because now we've got great tax returns, we've got great depreciation, we've got good income coming in. Our tenants were paying down our debt. We had huge spreads in between what we owed and what we were getting in rent. And so, and the properties were going up in value, so that's something nobody thinks about. And something like, when I look back, man, I've got properties right now that I purchased for 60,000 that are worth 350,000.
Wow. Yeah.
In my portfolio right now. When I bought them, they were $800 rent, and now I'm getting $2,200 rent.
I think that's something that I'm guilty of too. When I'm looking at a deal, like I'm looking at what the rent is today and what the value of the property is. But when you look at over a number of years, that rent is going to go up. The property is going to appreciate over time. And so do you think that that's a mistake to look at a deal and think, oh, well, this is only going to make me $100 a month. It's not worth it.
For sure. I was underwriting properties at $250, $300 a month, between $200 and $300 a month.
Mm-hmm.
If I could make that, and I had a 20% equity position in the property, that was a buy for me, and so, I wasn't killing it like I am now. And so as time goes on, and as you mature, and as the market goes up and down, but it always goes up with real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a period of time for a year or two where it crashed and it went down, in the recession, but it came right back up, and then it doubled, and then it tripled. So I've been doing this for 25 years now. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Get as aggressive, do as many deals as you can,
Yeah.
and not be rate sensitive or cash flow sensitive. Right now, I'm buying property. Even if I'm cash flow neutral, I'm still pulling the trigger on certain areas and certain places that I want to build my portfolio in, because I know these places are going up 8 to 10% a year.
Yeah.
I don't even have to make any cash flow. As long as the tenants pay my bills and my expenses, I'm buying,
So
with no cash flow.
Tell us about your portfolio today. Like, what does your portfolio look like?
So right now I think today I looked right before the podcast, I'm at 178 houses. The total market value is $52,960,000.
Wow.
My equity position in that 52 is $36 million.
Wow.
I have I got $3,344,815 coming in rent. I've got $1,469 going out in debt service. I've got 587 grand going out in taxes and insurance, and that's leaving me a million, 1,287,315 cash flow net,
Wow.
not gross. That's net after I pay my expenses in a year. So you're looking at about 100 grand a month coming in.
Incredible.
All that mailbox money. I'm 47 now. I've got 3 kids. They all in college. We're new empty nesters. How I can live off of this small empire that I've built. My wife comes from a single mother who was a housekeeper. My mom was a nurse. My dad was a fisherman in Hawaii. We had school loans. We had football scholarships. We came from nothing. I had to borrow $5,000 from my mom to put in my account so that I showed enough assets to get my first rehab loan.
Wow. So
I didn't even have money. I didn't even have enough assets to qualify.
So tell us what you're buying. What's a perfect rental for you?
So I'm gonna answer this question. Okay, so my buy box right now is in Kansas City. I'm looking for that 3-bed, 1 bath, 1 to 2 bath, and I got 2 different buy boxes. But I like the 3-bed. I like the 2 bath, 2 car garage. 1,200 to 1,800 square foot, and the after repair values in the neighborhoods are like 300 grand to 350.
Okay.
And I'm picking up these homes for 200 to 250. And so really good school districts, no inner city, no, I'm not doing 100-year-old homes, 75-year-old homes. We're not doing anything like that. The other thing I like to buy is the 3-bedroom, 1 bath that has an unfinished basement. And then I can come in and create another bedroom, create another bathroom. That might take me 15 grand, 20 grand, but my comps will go up 50, 60 just by adding that bedroom and that bathroom.
Tell me about how you've used a line of credit to finance your properties.
So I had a building in Kansas City in the city market it was a $1 million building. I owed like $300,000 on the building, and I had 150 grand sitting in the checking account from the rent. Each floor rented I had 4 floors there. Each one rented for about $3,000. I was making $12,000 a month on this building. Mm-hmm. I owed $300. The first thing I did, I went back. I put that building up for collateral. It was a $1 million building. I got a $700,000 line. The first thing I did is I took the $700,000 line. I took $300 out of it, and I paid the mortgage off. So now I owe $300 to my line of credit. Second thing I did is I took the 150 grand I had in the bank and I paid that to the line. So now all I owed was 150 grand. I was getting 12 grand a month in rent. I had that building paid off in a year and a half. Now I had this line of 700,000. I had no debt and had access still to the 700 grand. So I just repeated that over and over. So now I have 0 compound amortized debt. All the debt I have on my properties is all line of credit.
And
I don't do any compound amortized 30-year mortgage. Everything I do is line of credit.
So with the rates going up over the last couple of years, has that increased your payments a lot?
Oh yeah. That kind of sucked. When prime went up to 9. When I was doing these lines and I was doing these loans, I was at prime plus a half, prime plus 3/4, and at that time prime was 3%, 4%. So you were looking at 4.5%, 5%, and prime just kept going up and up. So when prime went to 8.5 or whatever it was, my payments almost doubled.
Wow!
And so that was the risk that I took, but then my goal is to pay it off.
Yeah,
I'm sweeping all my cash flow, all my rent. I don't need it. I sweep it all to the line. if I sell a property and I used 150 grand from the line and I paid 50,000 in rehab and I'm in the property for 200 and I sell it for 250, I sweep all 250 to the line. I paid a debt back, and in the 50 grand profit, I sweep that to the line. So I just sweep everything back into the lines. And if I need it, it's there.
Right.
If I don't need it, it's paying off simple interest. That there's a huge difference between, you ever stop to think how you can pay off? You ever stop to think how you can pay off an $80,000 Tahoe in 5 years, but you can't pay off $80,000 to your mortgage in 5 years?
That's a good point. Right.
It's
right.
It's the debt structure. It's the difference between simple interest loan and compound amortized. I'm doing all kinds of stuff with this money right now, and it's all line of credit like that. I can put in cash offers. I have access to the capital. It's a simple wire, super easy. And so this is kind of how this was a game changer for me when I figured out this whole line of credit strategy, and we implemented it heavy. Like I said, I've got no 30-year amortized debt on any asset that I own right now.
I think there's a couple of things that Pat did that really contributed to his success. The first one is that he thought big. He knew he didn't want one or two rental properties. He knew he wanted to build a big rental portfolio. The next thing is that he thought long term. He knew that over time the properties were going to appreciate. He knew that rents were going to go up. He was really big on paying down debt. He knew that the properties would cash flow better if he was paying less interest. And I really liked the way that he financed his portfolio with a line of credit. The line of credit allowed him to close quickly. And then when he would have extra money, he would funnel that into paying down his line of credit. And then he could borrow that money again when he found his next opportunity. He was buying properties in good neighborhoods, 3 bedrooms, 1 or 2 bath, 2-car garage. And I think the combination of all that, good properties, good neighborhoods, with the financing and the way he was thinking, I think that's how he got to where he is today. Really, really inspiring story. Well, if you want to hear more from Pat, he was on the podcast a couple of years ago on episode 396, and we talked about when he was getting started, he bought properties in a really rough neighborhood, and he had a really tough time with it, and it almost ruined him. If you want to hear that, it's episode number 396, and if you want to reach out to Pat, I've got his contact information on the website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 516. I'd like to thank Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group for sponsoring today's episode. If you're looking to buy a rental property, whether you're just getting started or you want to add to your portfolio, reach out to Chaley. She has a ton of different loan programs. If you're interested in the line of credit strategy, Chaley has a program called the All-in-One, where it's a first position HELOC on a rental property. If you want to find out more, reach out to Chaley. You can track her down at ridgelendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. I'll be back with a new episode next Tuesday. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.